back to week 4 of Check It Out. Today I have 10 more terrific reads to tell you about. If any of these sound truly terrific to you, make sure you request them on BookHub. We'll get those books into your hands right away. The first book I want to tell you about today is a marvelous urban fantasy from 2013 called Heap House by Edward Carey. This book is for fans of Lemony Snicket, for those of you who loved Roald Dahl books like Matilda or James and the Giant Peach when you were younger. This is the first book in a trilogy called the Ironmonger series. In this book, the Ironmonger family lives on top of a heap of rubbish. They live in a mansion, a ramshackle one, and they each have a special talent. Claude Ironmonger's talent is that he can hear the objects in the rubbish speaking to him and telling him their stories. Again, this is a fantastical, fun, and quirky read for those of you who enjoy that type of fantasy. The next book I want to tell you about is called Lovely War by Julie Berry. This book is a 2019 romance and historical fiction. What makes this sweeping romance set over 2 world wars, World War I and World War II, really unique is that it's told as a story within a story that is narrated by Aphrodite to both her husband Hephaestus and her boyfriend Ares, the god of war, as she details the lives of 4 mortals who were in love during this time period. This is a uniquely multi-layered, mixed genre book that I think many of you might find truly lovely. The next book is Illumini. This is the first book in the Illumini files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It's a very fast-paced sci-fi that came out first in 2015. It is not a straight-up narrative. It's told as a series of reports and transcripts. It details an interplanetary war set in the future. There are 2 people, a former boyfriend and girlfriend, who no longer like each other, but as they deal with a struggling planet and trying to get off that planet in time, and as well as the deadly plague that's decimating their community, they're forced to rely on each other in order to be successful. This next book, The Murderer's Ape from 2017, is a really unique mystery and adventure told from the point of view of a gorilla. In this book, the gorilla is the silent and steadfast companion of a chief who is the captain of a cargo boat. They travel throughout the world and have all kinds of adventures. This book takes a darker turn when the chief is falsely accused of murder. The black and white illustrations throughout this book are very reminiscent of The Invention of Hugo Cabret. For those of you who loved that book, this is a really fun and special read. Just Jamie by Terry Libenson is the 3rd book in a series of 4 by Terry Libenson called the Emmy and Friends series. For those of you who know Emmy and Izzy's stories, Jamie's is the 3rd in this series. Coming out of the Scholastic Book Fair next month will be the 4th and final book in this series, which is about Brianna. Just Jamie's story deals with friendship, social bullying, and exclusion. And like all of these books, it's told with a great deal of humor, heart, and is filled with wonderful illustrations. A great graphic novel read for those of you who are fans of Raina Telgemeier and other realistic fiction graphic novels. The Boy Who Became a Dragon, a Bruce Lee story, is also a graphic novel, but this one is a brand new biography of Bruce Lee, the global kung fu star. Bruce Lee details his journey through bullying, discrimination, and interactions with gangs and violence related to that. He went from being a student of kung fu to a teacher and eventually the international star that we all know about. Again, for those of you who love biographies, kung fu, graphic novels, this is right up your alley. Marcus Vega Doesn't Speak English is a 2018 realistic fiction book that's nominated for the Golden Sower this year. Marcus's father ran away from their home years ago, almost a decade ago, and left Marcus's mother and he to fend for themselves. Marcus gets in trouble at school for fighting, he is expelled, and Marcus's mother takes him to Puerto Rico where they begin a journey to find Marcus's long-lost father. This is a terrific realistic fiction read, and I think many of you would enjoy reading this if you're planning to be a Golden Sower reader and voter this year. The Grand Escape by Neil Boscombe is a thrilling narrative nonfiction book that was published in 2018. This is set during World War I, and it details the true story of the Allies' escape from a notorious German prison. This book details tunnels being devised underneath the prison. It features bribing guards. It features narrow escapes where the prisoners were almost caught. And finally, it tells the story of the 10 POWs who were able to escape and tell their stories. This is a terrific read for fans of Alan Gratz and of other wonderful narrative nonfiction tales. What Lane by Torrey Maldonado is 2020 realistic fiction. This is the author of Tight, for those of you who remember when I recommended this book a couple of weeks ago. This is the coming-of-age story of Stephen, a biracial teen. He hangs out with friends who are also biracial, friends who are Black, and friends who are white. And as he enters his teen years, he begins to notice that things he does as a person who is notably of color and things his white friends do, the reactions are different. And as he begins to explore that, he becomes interested in Black Lives Matter and stories of racial inequality. This will be a terrific read for those of you who are interested in such issues and have maybe read Dear Martin and The Hate U Give. The final book I want to tell you about is by Jewel Parker Rhodes. It's called Black Brother, Black Brother. She's also the writer of Ghost Boys, which is a Golden Sower nominee this year. This just came out recently. It's a 2020 realistic fiction book. It tells the lives of two brothers, Dante and Trey, who are biracial. They both appear Black, and live their lives as members of the Black community. Trey's skin is much lighter, and Dante and Trey find they are treated differently throughout their community because of the color of their skin. Dante is suspended wrongly from his school. To cope with some of the discrimination that he finds himself facing, he becomes a competitive fencer, and he uses that sport as a way to deal with and articulate some of his anger and confusion about racial injustice. This is a terrific read. I love Jewel Parker Rhodes' writing, and I think you might really enjoy this book as well. Okay, that's it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions. Put those book titles down on BookHub, and we'll get them to you as soon as we can. Thanks. Have a great week.